Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel today. I am joined by a very special guest, Sabine Poncelet. She's joining us all the way from Dubai, and so I'm so excited to talk to you today. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you, Sherri. Hello, everyone, and thank you also for receiving me. I'm very glad to be here.
I'm really excited about this conversation today because most people that watch me know that animals are a huge part of my upbringing, my spiritual awakening, and my heart. And so I always love to speak with people who are animal people. And so today I have a very special treat because Sabine is an animal communicator. She has been working with animals and their families for, you'll have to let us know exactly how many years, but I believe 7 years old is when you started communicating with them. And it's interesting because I feel like that was around the time I started speaking to my dog. Maybe I was 5, Chelsea, way back in the day. And she was kind of my teacher. And so you'll have to let us know a little bit about your story and your background, Sabine, and tell us a little bit about how you got into animal communication. And then we have lots of interesting topics to discuss, but let's hear about your journey first. Tell us how you got started.
Like you said, I started around 6-7 years old, and the story started funnily with a cow. Of course, my mom has been against this for a very long time, and not only her. At that time, many people were saying, no, animal don't speak. And she was telling me, okay, it's your imagination. A cow cannot speak with you. This is impossible. And when I said, but the horse too, and the dog too, I can understand what they are thinking, and they understand me also, and they speak with me. I thought at that moment that not my mom doesn't love me, but as a child at that specific moment, you want that your parents are trusting you because that's the real story. You don't lie. And she was telling me, please don't say that to anyone because they will laugh at you. This is not possible. Animals don't speak, just shut your mouth and end of story. Don't even think about this. Finished. I was like, wow. Then I kept that for many years for me. And my conversation with the cow happened after a dispute with her. Just, you see the contrast here and how deep it was. As a child, mom is shouting because we do stuff as a child, 6-7 years old. And I was crying, and I was living in a village. Then it's very easy to go to the first farm, the second farm. It was full of farm with cow and many other animals. Then I was in a prey area crying near to a tree. And I was complaining about my mom and my life, and I was sad, sad like a child. But at that moment, I felt the presence, and I just did that, and I saw a cow. Okay, I didn't know that animal were speaking too at that moment. Then I was like, okay, fine. And she started to engage telepathically a conversation with me, saying, I understand you, and now I'm helping you. Just let me. And I let her. And then I was so happy, that this happened. And I was sharing the story with my mom. And then I would say, not the nightmare started, but my shadow started to show up through my mother, if I can say this way. And for many years, I shut down. I was doing like in secret. And even when I say doing in secret, when my dog was looking at me, I was like somehow accepting and rejecting at the same time the fact that he was communicating with me. And I've done this for many, many years until my adult age. We had 4 or 5 cats at home, 1 dog. Everyone was communicating with me, and I was helping one of my cats to deliver the baby every time she was pregnant. And the day after, my mom had to do an excuse, writing a letter for the school because I could not wake up as I stayed all night with the cat. But I was communicating with the cat by doing this on her to me to help her to deliver the baby. I knew what to do. it's like it's something I learned, but it was like natural, you know. But I never spoke about this during those years. I was doing it. I know it was happening, but at the same time, I was repressing. It's only later on that I really accepted. Yeah, I was approximately 18. And even at 18, I didn't really accept it that it was possible to communicate with animals, because that belief was embedded inside me through my family and the consciousness in the village saying, no, no, shut your mouth. But that's when I entered into a spiritual center for the first time with a friend of mine. I was around 18 years old. And then it was mediumship public session. And into that mediumship public mediumship public session, I will arrive. You could place pictures of someone in your family who passed away. And my friend took her grandmother pictures. You know, I was very curious and go, let's see, why not, you know? But I didn't take anything with me. And at that specific moment, I will never forget that, she received her message. And because it was direct, they didn't write anything. They were choosing people in the public. One medium looked at me and said, you there, I have a message for you. And I was like, because I didn't think it was me really at the beginning. And then she insisted, say, hey, you. I said, me? She said, yes, you. And she started. She said, you have a man behind you, la, la, la. She started to explain in detail, giving me the description. And she said, you are a psychic medium. I wanted to go this way, but I was like, you know, because I was like, do I need to believe that or not? This is BS or this is the reality? I tried to stay serious. And she engaged into the message on a deep, deep, deep level until in front of everyone, she said, you can see him. You saw him many times. He's coming every night near to your bed since you are 7 years old. And I was like, oh, okay. It was my grandfather. When he died, he started to visit me. And that's the moment also when I started to see things and communicate on a different level. Then she started to give me detail and she said, Sabine, we give course here. We are an association. I would like that you come because you really have this already developed. You just need to be guided and do it with us. Okay, and that was like the full awakening for me on that level. But still like, can I believe? Yes, no, I was still half-half. But I took the lead and I said, okay, next Friday I'm coming and I will try. And the first course was doing telepathy with your neighbors on the next chair. Was going like this. And she said, it's 2 years course. And then you can practice with us on the podium. After 6 months, I was with them on the podium, taking pictures like this and delivering message. It was normal, but I was still blocked with animals. They didn't practice on animal there. They didn't deliver any message from animals. It was only people who passed away. But then I was still in full repression somehow because the belief was still very present. Yes, I can communicate with people who passed away. I can communicate with anyone, you know. I can even do healing. That's possible, but not with animals because that belief became so strong that it was impossible for me to come back again and start. And it's in Dubai. One friend of mine who told me, Sabine, why you don't do animal? I was like, excuse me. Yeah, why you don't do animal? And I started to reconsider that. And I was like, yeah, I can try. Say, do you have a pictures of any animal you know? And she said, yes, let's try. Say, okay, go. And message came like that. And that's when I took again the confidence back. And I could finally open that because it never disappeared. I just shut it down. And I was like, no, Vil doesn't exist anymore. And it came back that day. And from that day, I was like, yes, okay, I can do it. Yeah.
think that's such a beautiful story, Sabine. Your journey, that can really help people listening because I think that what happened to you happens to all of us to some degree at some point.
Yes.
It's our limiting beliefs that are programs, and it's generational. And so I remember when I was a kid, hearing and overhearing, and the norm was animals are beneath us. Not my mom, not my family, but just kind of the narrative that they don't have heard, they don't have souls, that they come in their new souls and they haven't evolved yet to our level, and they don't talk, and I've heard it all. And I was young enough. I was young, but I was wise enough at the time to always think better of that. And I said, that's not, I don't believe that. And I think it was a valuable lesson for me to learn from my animals, because they taught me the truth. And luckily I had a mom that was open to it as well. So I didn't have my mom telling me what your mom had telling you what she was saying, but many do. Many have family members. They don't want to be embarrassed. Oh, don't embarrass me in front of the town by saying you speak to animals. And so this is a very real thing. And I think everybody has the potential to be a psychic medium, to communicate with animals, to be a healer, all of these things, we all have it. It's just, it needs to be unlocked. And right now, I think as a big part of our awakening, we're unlocking these parts of us, these aspects of ourselves that we have closed off. And it's such a beautiful thing to witness many people all over the world, which is why I think these conversations are so important, because we don't know who's listening to this today that will be inspired by what you're saying, with your story, or something that I have said. So I think it's beautiful to share. What I'd like to get into, because I believe animals serve a much bigger role. I think that many of them, if not all, are ascended beings that are here. They come back to help us, especially in the companion department. So I'm talking about dogs, cats, those that come into our home, because in other dimensions, in other star galaxies, I think the message across the board that I've received anyway is that they don't have companion animals like we do out there, because they are just free to come and go, and so they don't have pets like we do. This is a third dimensional thing that I believe that the universe gifted us to help us get through being in such a dense reality. So they truly do choose to come in, and we most of the time know these souls that come through, they are actual either fractals of ourself or souls or spirits that come in to guide us, that we know, and they come in an animal form. So, because spirit guides we can't touch, we can't know, and people don't often know that they're there. But animals we can touch, we can hug, we can feel their unconditional love. So it's a way for them to guide us in a profound way in the physical sense. So I would love to get your take on the role that the animals, let's just speaking domestic right now, what they play in our life, and your experience in your sessions with people and their pets.
Yeah. The role they play in our life is mainly support and giving us unconditional love. I've seen people who were broken. I mean, broken in a way they are incapable to love again. I'm speaking about love relationship. I've seen especially one man like that, who the heart was becoming like a stone. It's a protection. And he was incapable to go to any woman, I would say. Yes, they had the physical attraction, but from the moment he was feeling that he was developing feeling for that woman, back off. Back off, because his word was, I don't want to go back there again. I don't want to suffer again. One day, a dog entered in his life. That dog was 4 months, something like that, when she arrived. It was a female. That guy changed completely, because the dog has been capable to open his heart. And he said clearly, I'm in love with my dog. I discovered love, which is amazing. And I think they are the only beings, I mean, on this planet, excepted human, to be able to help us to open the heart. I think nobody on the human level would be able to open his heart. But with the dog, because the dog was into a different vessel, let's say like that, different shape, we accept in a different way. And this was already an amazing story for unconditional love. Why I'm mentioning unconditional love is because dogs, cats, horses, I've seen horses taking on the depression of the owner, losing kilos like the owner was losing kilos. And the vet came, the horse was fine. They don't find anything on that day when they come. Blood test is perfect, but the horse start to become weaker, weaker, and weaker, at the point that it's not normal that the horse is losing 100 kilo in one shot like that, you know, and still eating normally. And it's when I've done the consultation for that horse that we discovered that. And I started to ask questions to the owner. Do you feel this also? Do you feel that also? Do you feel this also? Because I get from your horse this, 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 and that. And I had all the list. And even that day, the horse told me, she is drinking too much. And I'm like, oh, how can I ask this, you know? Then I asked the owner, I'm sorry, but your horse is telling me this. I'm not here to judge you, but he says it's too much because he's telling me it's not 1 or 2 glasses of wine per evening. And the person looked at me and she said, yeah, I'm in a difficult situation for the moment, and sometimes I'm finishing the bottle. But the horse was there to support that person, taking on the depression, taking on all the problem. At the point that he became sick, he was really mirroring the situation. And this is pure unconditional love, because she asked, she said, please, can you stop to take on my energy? I can heal alone. I promise you I will heal and I will do whatever I need to do. And he said, no, I'm here for you, and I'm here to help you to cope with the situation. Then whatever you are not able to cope with, I take on me, because I can cope with. I'm capable, and even if I have to die, that's not a problem. I will come back later. Even myself, I was like, oh, wow, this is big. But it was clear that's not a problem for them, because they don't have the same luggage as we have. We have to clear many things when we die, and before coming back, we have to clear all the stuff. Not them. They leave their body. Okay, I can incarnate, new body, not even to wait 1 month. They can come back directly if they want. In general, they choose do not to, because they want to support the owner. But that's showing the level of unconditional love they have. My cat did with me. I had an intrauterine device that has been misplaced, but I didn't feel I was doing my stuff normally. I felt a heaviness, but I was busy, and I was later on, you know, that's not important. It will disappear. You know, when you are stressed, how it is, you neglect a bit yourself, to be honest. My cat, since that moment when the intrauterine device moved, she was coming on my tummy all the time. And I was like, that's weird. She changed her place, because in general, she's here, you know, on my chest, or she's coming here. And one day she started to lose blood from her anus. I went to the vet, but I was still fine at that moment. I went to the vet. The vet explained to me what it is, etc. This is weird, you know. Anyway, we took the medicine. I followed the treatment. 2 days later, emergency at the hospital. I was bleeding and everything. I was full of infection. And they say, this is an emergency. We need to remove it now, because it entered into a part of the uterus, but it moved. And it's stuck between the cervix. I will not give the detail, but they had to give a treatment. And I was like, wow, my cat took on me. This is why I didn't feel bad. Yeah, I felt a heaviness, but not more. She was taking on her. That was amazing. And from that moment, I realized that I was like, soon I see that she's coming into a different place, or she's coming more often than usual. I need to observe much more. It was like not being the observer enough of what is going on for me. And you see, I'm an animal communicator, but I've made this mistake like everyone because I'm human before anything. And I have my own issue like everyone, but that moment gave me the awareness like, wow, Sabine, she is much more than what you think because she has been capable to remove all the pain. And because of her, I could delay the moment. And it's only when she really falls sick, it's bad, I mean, in that way, but somehow it's good as a story because it will make people understanding how deep they go. It goes very, very deep. If she didn't fall sick, I think maybe she would continue to take on me and I would delay again and again and again. And I don't know where it would lead. Maybe she would die. You get the point? Well, I've been lucky in this way because she showed me the sign before for me to come back and say, wow, something is wrong here. If your cat is sick, meaning they have something somewhere. But I could not figure out. And since that day, every time she changed her behavior or she's changing the place where she's coming, when she's cuddling, I'm like, okay, scan. Scan your body and do a double check. They are amazing in this way.
They truly are our greatest healers. I mean, they come in to be our guides, or to help heal us, to absorb our emotions, our energy. And they do it so selflessly, like you said, because they're able to do that and they can pinpoint illness in our body. And I mean, I can give a million examples of clients that I've worked with in similar situations to show people, you know, that they they truly want to do that. And a lot of people say, oh, you know, they see their animal in pain and they feel guilt. And I say, you have to release that guilt because this animal came into your life to do this exact thing for you. And sometimes they want to die. They are willing, not want, but they are willing to die for it, like you said, because they can just pop right through and then they change your life and then they come back. I had a woman with 3 dogs and 2 of them died suddenly within a couple of months of each other with sudden illness. And one Great Dane developed a brain tumor like almost overnight. And she was like, why did they leave me so quickly? And the craziest thing is this woman was about to develop a planned part of her life, a cardiac issue where she was going to need open heart surgery and she was going to need to be hospitalized basically off and on for years. It was going to be a big thing, but it was part of her life plan. And those animals told me that they had to go because her life was about to change and they would be a burden on her. And so they needed to leave, but they would come back. So sometimes they leave for other reasons, not just health. They just chose to leave quickly with quick health, health diseases so that their death would be quick and easy for the owner. And they do so many things for us to help us to rebalance. They'll lick your ears if you have a lot of going on in the head, a lot of thought, a lot of worry, a lot of anger. They'll, like, if the cats will lay on your tummy to help with balancing that area of the body. They always find a way to heal you, to absorb your energy, and it's such a beautiful and profound relationship that we have with them. They're always communicating with us on some level. And so I think that this is a great conversation because I want people to know that yes, animals do take on our illness. Yes, they do take on our emotions, but it's part of their purpose. That's why they're here, to guide us, to help us heal. And it's such a beautiful thing. I want to get into behavioral issues as well, because we spoke about the health issues and disease that they can carry for us. There are also behavioral issues that they mirror for us, that I want to get into as well. And perhaps you can share some of your experience, because I did animal communication for a while in animal healing, and I retired from that simply because of the fact that over and over, almost 100% of the time, the animal told me that their owner was the one that needed help. They were depressed, angry, like you mentioned. And I said, you know what? I think I need to start working with people. And the animals helped me transition into working with people where I had previously resisted. And I realized, well, if I could help the people, we can help the animals. And that's what motivated me to go in to start working with people. And so a lot of the times the animals reflect our, entities that we have, our challenges, our anger. So tell me some examples. Well, first of all, I'd love to hear your opinion on that, but also, do you have any examples of clients that you've worked with similar circumstances where their animals modeled their behavior and had behavioral issues, but really it was them that needed the help?
Oh, yes, I have many examples like that. And I agree totally with you that that is really what is happening. And I can say I started with animal at the beginning here in Dubai because my story is that I worked for 18 years in finance, rejecting what I'm doing now, to be honest with you. And then I had to shift because that was the moment to embrace my passion, let's say like that, and my calling. But when I started to embrace my calling, I wanted to work with animal only at the beginning because I was like, wow, my gift is there, I can do with animal. It's full of horses here. And that was amazing. But I discovered very, very fast that people wanted me to fix the animal because the way how I started, it's not as an animal communicator. I was a bit shy to share that in this story because I was not sure they're open enough, etc. Then I was like, okay, let's go slowly. And I just offered energy healing for animal. That's it. But of course, people saw directly that I was doing much more than that. And they were open to this. But my issue with those people were that I fixed the animal. They wanted me to fix the animal. The animal is healing. The animal is better. And I had a case with one cat. 3 months. The cat is like, wow, very calm, amazing health. The owner is very happy. 3 months later, she's calling me back. Sabine, my cat is back to the same level. And I'm like, how come? How come the cat was fine for 3 months, And that's how I learned also myself that people are transferring without realizing the issue, and the animal is behaving exactly like the human. Then the person called me back saying my cat is back to the same stage, full of anxiety. Also, the cat was aggressive, and the cat has the tendency at that moment to bite specifically on the calf area, mainly, and attacking each and every one on the calf area. It was like the cat was switching from a moment, I'm very calm, I'm loving, you cuddling me, and poof, very aggressive in half a second. At that moment, because this was a repetitive patterns from the human that she didn't see. The cat was like the mirror for her. She didn't see that. When I felt it was the moment, because I was going too often. First time, 3 months delay, the cat is fine, 2 months, then 1 month. And I said, listen, we have an issue here. That's not your cat who needs to be fixed, because I'm afraid that your cat is just mirroring what is going on in your life. And I said to her, I'm really sorry to enter in your private life. I really felt she was like closed, And also because of the culture, that one was belonging to a culture where they don't have the habit to speak about them. Even if everything is wrong, everything is fine. And you are fine, you smile, Then I said, listen, I'm not here to judge you, but now I know perfectly well that your cat is your mirror, nothing else. Because remember 3 months ago, and I started to relate all the events and explain to her, remember I said that, remember this, remember that, because I record the session also. Then they cannot say I didn't say that. It's even easier for them because they can listen also after in case they forgot something. She started to cry and she says, Sabine, how can I do that? And I'm like, just open yourself. Open yourself for the healing. It's already the first step. And that's the moment where I started to heal the human and the animal. And then I was offering directly, not to heal the human, because I was called always for the animal. But I was taking that opportunity when I saw that the animal is behaving like the human and having exactly the same behavior. I was saying, look, this is happening. Maybe you need to think about this. And then people started slowly to open. First session. Then second session, they were like, oh, you know, my dog changed. I would like to try. What is it that you do? And that's how I started. I had a case with an anorexic person. And the dog was not anorexic at all. It was a small, fluffy, beautiful, teeny dog. And even the vet that day said, yes, maybe it would be better to ask for a psychologist for dog or animal communicator or something like that, because your dog is not sick. Everything was perfect, but the dog didn't eat for more than 6 or 7 days, which was huge, you know. Anyway, that person called me in emergency and she said, Sabine, can we do that? Okay, let's do it. The dog was also a very aggressive dog when I entered. He wanted to protect her, but in aggressivity like she had in her at the same time. But I didn't understand directly because I was still at the beginning of my discovery on how animals are really the mirror of the human. And this aggressivity I discovered only later on into the same session when she started to share her story. Because the session is starting in a way, my dog is not eating, he's aggressive, la la la. Okay, I started directly the healing on the dog before any communication, because the dog was like closed. I was like, okay, you don't want to speak, fine. I started to send the energy, and then slowly the dog started to relax, and I engaged the conversation with the dog slowly. It was exactly the woman was closed, you get the point, not open to any conversation. And then finally, maybe after 15, 20 minutes, slowly I could ask question. And then the dog said, why I would eat if she doesn't eat? And I was like, ah. Yeah, come on, how she doesn't eat? He said, yeah, she doesn't eat. Then I'm not eating. I asked the person, say, I'm sorry, your dog is telling me that you don't eat. First, anger came, that's not true. Okay. Say, listen, I'm just repeating what your dog is telling me. Then if you want that your dog start to eat, maybe you need to eat with your dog. Then she started to cry and explain the situation, and she entered into the detail, telling me that since the divorce, this is happening, etc., etc. And she cannot force her to eat. It's impossible. Then I look at her and say, listen, I'm afraid that your dog is mirroring exactly what is happening in you, including the aggressivity that is translated by him trying to attack me when I entered. And the fact that he didn't want to speak at the beginning, he was totally closed. I'm sorry to say, but it looked like you. And if you want that your dog start to eat, you need to eat for him. Now it's time for you to help him, because you called me to help him, but I can't do anything in a way that your dog is telling me, since you don't eat, he will not eat. The same day, she forced herself, she sent me the pictures, this, not more, of a steak. She gave the same to the dog. The dog just around, but not too much. He wanted to make sure that she will eat everything. She called me again and she said, Sabine, what can I do? Because he's just licking, but not eating. Say, wait. And even if you need to vomit after, so I'm sorry to say this way, because it was heavy for her. She didn't eat for many days. Say, try again in front of your dog and speak with your dog and tell him, look, I'm eating and I would like that you do the same. For me, please eat. Look, I'm eating now and I promise you that I will eat all the time. Say, tell him this way, but be very open and speak with your heart. Give him the promise that you will eat. You will not just eat now and stop tomorrow. And she was like, oh, I really need to do that. I say, I'm afraid, yes, otherwise it will not work. Because the dog is not stupid, of course. Then she did that the day after the dog was eating. I never had to go back. She called me 1 month after. She says, Sabine, I don't know what you have done. I said, it's not me. It's you. It's you who finally released and opened yourself and you help your dog. That's it. Yeah. That's an amazing story because it ended up in a way that she healed at the same time.
That's incredible. You know, had her dog not selflessly done that for her, she might have gotten ill or wouldn't have changed that behavior. So he had to show her what she was doing to herself, which is beautiful.
Exactly.
They're so intelligent. They have so much wisdom and they understand everything we say. I talk to all of my pets like they're people and they understand me. Everything I say, they understand. So they are not beneath us. They're very intelligent and they communicate both telepathically, both energetically, and they understand our words. And so it's a beautiful synchronistic, relationship. Oh, that's beautiful. What about like entities? Because I had one client that their dog was aggressive to their child, and come to find out that the child was fine, but the child had entities that weren't attached to him, but were trying to attach or hanging around him. The child was a beautiful child, no behavioral issues. The child had no idea that there was an entity trying to mess with him, not consciously, anyways. And the dog was trying to attack the entity that was trying to attack the child. And the owners perceived that as the dog was getting aggressive. And once the child had a clearing done and the house was cleared, the behavior changed, which I thought, man, this must happen all the time. So do you have experience with similar things? I mean, I think you and I could probably give a million stories for hours. But that was fascinating to me because I'm like, the dog is not attacking him. He's trying to get to the entity that's trying to get to him, because they're our greatest protectors as well. But the dog was, not realizing that he was hurting him. At least he wasn't trying to. What, do you have any experiences like that?
Yeah, I have 2 cases. One is with a big dog, and the other one is with a small dog, a Chihuahua one. The Chihuahua was the worst case I have seen, and luckily it was a Chihuahua. If it was a German Shepherd or a Bulldog or stuff like that, I think disaster would happen in the house because, of course, that's not the same things. A Chihuahua, if he's biting you or becoming aggressive or showing some behavior of really weird stuff, it's still a Chihuahua. You can control somehow. The story happened 2 years ago exactly, and I remember end of the year I did a session on the person. It was nothing about the dog. It was for the person, but the dog started to be sick. That person was, that's difficult to explain, but this person was working on others, okay? Let's say holistic therapies. I'm suspecting that the person was doing much more than that, but we didn't enter in detail. The situation was that after, and I have to say the name, Draco, was into the room where that person was doing holistic therapies, that dog started to show sign of mental disease, okay? Time passed. Finally, I started a session on the dog. I did light language to help the dog. It helped the dog to release, and I said to the person, listen, your dog has taken not an entity on the human level, but took this because you have few on you. We did a deeper session. The person was half open, half closed. That was really a weird case, the weirdest I had in my life. And I started also to be too much involved in that session because it went very deep on many, many different levels. That person one day said, I want to change. I want to be a better person. I know my past. I know what I have done. We were speaking about past life. That person is highly psychic. And I remember that one said to me, I want to end all the contract with them. I know they are after me. It's like a mafia because they were chasing her like the mafia. And I explained to her why this is happening, etc., etc. I will not enter in detail here. Do not reveal too much because I don't want that this person will be recognized for her protection also. Because I don't want that others start to judge or making comment. You get the point. It was difficult enough for the person, for the dog, and even for me, who at some point started to be involved, because with some clients you are involved up to a certain level, but some others you go deeper because of the story itself. It's the first time it's happening to you. You really don't know how to help. It's a new cases you never had. I'm sure you had some situation like that too. Then we arrive at the point, I've done few sessions on that person. That person is evolving a bit, but then we reach a plateau. But months are passing. The dog is stabilized for a moment and doesn't show too much sign of mental illness, no aggressivity, fine. One day that person is going to a party. Of course, boom. She didn't take drugs or whatever, but drinking a lot. And it was sufficient for someone who is already open like this, was sufficient to bring even more. Then I did the session, we release, and I discovered that they had a new Draco behind us. What the heck is going on here? We already released, we end up the contract, and then we discovered that that person had other contract with pseudo that was not directly linked to the Draco, but like the family, the cousin, and I was like, in which world am I? I was myself like, what the heck is going on here? That person said, I'm really sorry, but I want to work for the Archangel, and she chose Metatron, clearly, and I was like, wow, this is high level, but okay, fine. And at the same time, it's my family. When I heard that, I was like, oh, wow, what do you mean? Yeah, I know it's the mafia, but I can't believe that they chase me like the mafia. It's my family. I had child there because I was belonging to them, la, 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 many past life behind, aeons and aeons before. I was listening to the story because we did that through a transpersonal regression therapy. It's very similar to hypnosis, where people can go back and see who they were and everything. At that moment, I said, now you have the choice. You said you want to work with Archangel Metatron and evolve and help other people and becoming someone who will help with the light, working for the light. But at the same time, you tell me this is your family and you cannot let go of them. You cannot abandon your child because you still have children there. And I was like, now you need to make a choice. We can't. For many, many sessions, it has been a dilemma between. But they were like a mafia behind, like you stay with us, all the time. She wasn't capable to cut the contract because she still had one foot into the shadow side and the other foot into the light, which is a very difficult moment. Then the dog took on. The dog took everything in a way that every being, every Draco, pseudo Draco, cousin of the Draco, whatever was coming to her, the dog was taking, until the dog has been into emergency. And they were searching for one illness, a new illness here, many disease I heard as a name. And I said, listen, your dog took on. Now you need to make a choice. If you are incapable to make that choice, your dog will never heal because your dog is taking again and again and again. And then I proposed something and I said, okay, I will not work on your dog anymore. We will do a session and we will invite the dog in your session. And we did like I do with Alzheimer people. we invite the person who is with Alzheimer into my client session. We call it a surrogate session. And that's what I have done with that person. She was somehow the surrogate, and we call the soul of the dog. We discover who was the dog, etc. And the dog said clearly, you need to make a choice, because my choice is made. My choice is you. I came to help you. And funnily, it was a white dog. It's not a coincidence, because we asked in this session why she chose to be a Chihuahua. It was a female. Why she chose to be white Chihuahua? Because a big dog was not okay for that person. That person didn't like the big dog. She wanted a Chihuahua to put in the back to go everywhere with. Well, here's the stereotype, but that was the story somehow that she told me. And white, because that person was into a stage of leaving her own darkness after aeons and aeons and aeons, and wanted to enter into the light, but had so many difficulties. And white was the symbolic for that person of purity. This is why the white dog. Finally, the dog has to be put on sleep at a certain point, because it's becoming worse and worse and worse. I do more light language at the point that I have done myself very weird light language with the mantis being, with any beings that could come to help. But the choice of the dog was, she needs to make a choice. She has been incapable to make a choice. Up to now, I know that client is still half-half. She has done ayahuasca session, bufo, Kambo, Yopo recently here a few months ago. She's much better. When I saw her, she's much lighter than before. She's evolving, but she's still stuck into two different dimensions, let's say like that. And the dog was becoming crazy, very aggressive. Of course, those beings are really aggressive by nature, was mirroring many, many things. The house itself was a nightmare, and they have a child there. The child was becoming so scared about the dog. This situation was impossible at the end. This was the biggest and I would say the most horrible one even for me, because that was the first time that I had a case like that. The other case was with a big dog, and the owner has been beaten really badly by this dog. It's a German Shepherd. And I saw the dog before the dog attacked that person for the second time. And when I saw the dog told me that he was seeing something above him. And this something was very bad. For me, it was an entity when I asked my guides, because the dog was, how can I say? It was a rescue dog. 3 different owners before my client. The dog was not settled. The dog mentally was really disturbed because of all the trauma he passed by. But when I looked into the eyes of the dog has not been aggressive with me. And I put my nose to his nose because I felt I was okay to do it. And I said to the dog, why did you do that? He said, I don't know. I snapped. I lost my mind. I was not myself. And then we went deeper into the conversation. And I realized that my client was full of anger, but anger deeply repressed, deeply buried inside, that the dog was taking and mirroring at the same time. But my client was also full of entities, meaning the dog didn't know how to deal with the situation at the end of the day. And when I saw the dog the first time, I didn't see the dog after, because he gave the dog to someone else, because he started to bite him again. When I saw the dog, I said to that client, I'm really sorry, but when I ask your dog if he can manage, if it's possible that he doesn't become aggressive like that and he doesn't bite anymore, because that was the question of my client, the dog said, listen, I lose my mind, and I don't know when this is happening. I lose my mind in general when I feel the anger coming too high. And what was it? My client? Because my client had, how we call it in English, when your tension is going too high? Hypotension? No, hyper. I don't remember the name in English anyway. Then that client, and I could feel also inside me, because I feel everything. When my client was speaking with me and the anger was coming up, even myself, I felt like I'm constricted here. I could not think anymore. And that's what the dog was making me feel at the same time, to make me understand, connect with him now, and you will feel the same. That conversation was interesting in a way that it was clear the dog is just mirroring what is happening. Snap, I lose my mind. I don't know what happened. It was a blank moment, but that was what's happening into the client. He became blank because the anger is so strong. You can't think, you can't see anything. You become blank. Plus all the entities that were around. I'm not telling you the result. One day he sent me a video. I was like, oh my God. He said, I'm waiting for the ambulance. And when I asked the dog, can you manage? He said, I can't promise that because I lose the control. And that's what happened. The dog lost the control because the owner lost the control. It's a very sad story, but that's unfortunately a reality when dogs are biting, especially big dog, because when a small dog is biting you, nobody's complaining, weirdly, because they are small. But when it's a big one, the damage is bigger. And people are concerned about this, but very rarely they think about what is happening inside me, what type of emotion I have buried that my dog knows I have buried and just mirror. What type of anger, or what is the level of my anger that I'm repressing, that my dog is showing me so much aggressivity now. Nobody is thinking about this. Never anyone, I mean, in my client told me, I understood that. Yeah, they understood when it's too late, unfortunately.
I mean, gosh, what you said is so it's devastating, but it happens. It does happen a lot, and hypertension
Yeah.
is the word that you were thinking of. I was on mute, so I didn't realize that you couldn't hear me. And the breed that you choose is important as well. If you're the type of person that is dealing with anger, extreme anger, or maybe you don't like people, and now your dog doesn't like people because you don't like people, and then you have a Doberman. Oh my gosh, don't take that Doberman outside because he's going to attack people. So who you choose to have around you is important as well, the breed, because sometimes they have natural instincts that's why that dog couldn't said, I don't know if I can control it because he chose to come in for whatever reason as a German Shepherd. So his instincts come through as a protector, and he wasn't able to control his reaction. So the breed of the animal really does play a role, because sometimes if for example, the German Shepherd that you were speaking of, his instincts can come over him when he was feeling that anger and that rage. His instincts take over at that point, because at the end of the day, he is still an animal. And so he wasn't able to, at least he was able to admit that he couldn't control his emotions. So the breed that we choose is very, very important. And an interesting thing that you said too, we chose, well, our animals choose us a lot of times without us realizing it. And I chose to have a golden retriever as a therapy animal, because we're going to use her at our Center for Children to work as a therapy dog. And so it's interesting because golden retriever popped in my mind because of the breed. They're very gentle, they're fully in service, they don't have a lot of behavioral issues, etc. And I thought this is the perfect dog. So I went looking, and the white ones kept popping up. And I didn't even know that there were white golden retrievers. I've seen Labradors that are white, but they're kind of rare. And and everything was white, white, white. And I was like, well, I think the golden ones are cute. I wanted a golden one. I wasn't thinking about it. Anyways, long story short, everything was white, and now I have a white one, and it worked out. And when you said that, I said, That's the exact message that she gave me when you mentioned about the dog the Chihuahua choosing to be white for purity and all in tranquility. And my dog Luna told me the same thing, and we named her Luna after the moon and her being white. And I said she's pure. She's a pure soul coming as an angelic energy to work with children to help them work through their emotions. And that's why she wanted to be white. So she kept showing me white, white, white. So they can choose their color. They can choose a lot of different variations. So I wanted to share that because you mentioned how she had chose to be a Chihuahua and she chose to be white because they do that for a reason.
Yeah. Right. You know, I had the same case with my cat who showed me really that it's not me who choose her. I saw an ad on Facebook when I adopted her. I was searching a cat for adoption to rescue one. Okay. And here we have many associations where they rescue the animal, they nurture them, they keep them in a foster home, and then you can adopt them. I went to see her. She was in a villa in a room with many other cats, and they said we rescue her in the street. She was with 7 babies, only 2 survived. Look, the nice kitten, you can take the kitten if you want. Say, no, I want the mom. And I was like, well, kittens are nice, but no, I want the mom. I saw the pictures of the mom, but they say, you know, sometimes you see pictures, you can change your mind, which is true. It's happening often. And I was like, no, I want the mom. And I looked at her and they say her name is Lucy. I say, okay. And I looked in her eyes and I said, listen, I have a dog at home. I don't know if you are okay with dog, but if you are fine to come with me, I would like to take you to my place. And if you're okay, please show me. But I said just like that, in my mind. They had a cage in the corner of the room. She started to walk to the cage and she stayed in the cage. And then I was like, okay, adopted, done. And the next one is here, 8th of January. I was living in a building here in Dubai, an office building, and my car was quite far away. I didn't find parking place inside the building. Then I was maybe 300, 200 meters far away. I went out and I could hear meow, meow, but we have many street cats, especially near to the trash bin and everything. And I was like, okay, this is very common. And I'm smiling, I play a bit, but when you want to take them, they run away, you know, they are street cat. I start to walk and he was behind, meow, 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 meow. Okay. I arrived at the car and I looked at him and I say, hey guy, I'm sorry, but either you come in the car and then, okay, maybe. I was myself doubting. Or bye, because I was telling him, you know, every cat I'm trying to take in my arms, you run away, then you will do the same. I said like that in my mind to him. And I was sure that he will run away when I will try to take him, because that's what they do all the time. I opened the door of the car and I said, you want to come? I took him, put on the seat. He went directly to the passenger seat. He was like that. I was like, oh my God, I've never seen that, especially a cat in the car. Say, okay, we have 40 minutes drive. Let's go. 40 minutes, that cat on the seat. Since that day, that cat is with me on my knee when I'm driving. He's not in a cage. He's like a Formula One pilot. I don't know what, but believe me, he's on my knees and he's purring, he's doing everything, but I can drive without any problem. This is a proof they choose you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. This is a fascinating conversation, Sabine. I'm really enjoying it. I could talk about animals all day long. I'm interested in getting your advice for everybody, but also your perception on the negative aspects of the 3D that do actually cause challenges for our pets. We know that there's a lot of toxins and poisons in the food that they eat. They are affected just like we are to electromagnetic frequencies, to the entities, to the toxins just in the environment. So not 100% of the time are they mirroring or reflecting us. They truly do get health conditions, I believe, because the dark 3D really they want to attack these companions of ours because they know they're here to help us. So they're going to do what they can to cause disease and illness. and then we have trouble taking care of them or affording their care, etc. And then our companions suddenly become, they bring us down in vibration because we're so worried about them. So I believe that it's kind of a twisted, convoluted setup here in 3D. So, but they do truly get dis-ease and illnesses from all of those things. So what are some of the things, and not everyone can afford the most expensive food that you can get or make your own, things like that. So, you know, we have to go with what the resources people have, but what are some of the things that you recommend for people that they can do to help their pet navigate through the environment that they're in that is out of their control, and help them kind of rebalance just like we do?
Yeah. What I would recommend, of course, when you can't afford a food that is either organic or very, very high quality, because organic is a big word today, but in some countries not really organic. You need to pay attention about this. What I do in general, I remember many clients ask me that. I place my hand on the food packaging or on the can or whatever, and I don't read. I don't want to know it's organic, low food, high quality, whatever. I place my hands and I just ask. I ask my guides in general to receive information. What is the origin of the food? Is it good quality? Is it good for the animal? Is it sustaining for the health? Is it bringing all the minerals that the animal needs? Or maybe the person needs to add more things in addition to that food. That's what I do often. And this is very, very useful, because one type of food can be good for this cat, but the same food will be bad for the other one. And it's high quality food, very expensive, very good, no chemical, blah, blah, blah. But it's not good for that cat, because that cat doesn't have the same origin into the DNA. Is not born in the same condition, didn't have the same type of food since he's born, doesn't have the same weakness. Then this, you need to pay attention. When you can't afford a food that is high quality, I will not say name, of course, I can't hear, cook yourself. They have an amazing book. It's a vet who created that book. It's Natural Food or something like that. I don't remember the title. I bought the book, but I didn't finish. Then I cannot speak about the book. I've read maybe 15 pages for me to inform myself. And that vet is explaining how to cook yourself the food for your animal. This is one option. I know it's time consuming, but you can do a bit today, a bit tomorrow, and you stock for a few days, for example. This is one option. The second option is making saving only for that. Because when the food is very low quality, yes, it's cheap, but you pay the price years later. I've seen that myself with my mom. My mom was taking the food at the supermarket that is the cheapest possible. But she was doing this because we could not afford any other food. My mom was from a very poor background, and until I got married, I mean, into a poor, very poor situation. Even in the winter, she couldn't pay the heater, and they were cutting. Just to give you the situation. And of course, you will never invest money into a cat. And we had 4 cats. Then sometimes even we didn't have food for the cat, and the cat was eating with me some stuff. This was extreme. Then for people who are, well, I hope nobody is in the extreme situation like that, but for people who are in difficult situation, I would say just think twice. Use that food for a very short time, because she did for many years. Yes, she didn't have the choice, and she didn't think that would be better maybe to keep a bit of money on the side to give for the cat, or to give our food was better to instead of that food itself, because many years later all the cat has been sick. And we know, because I discovered studies later on, I was an adult at that time, that many food of low qualities are linked to disease. Kidney disease, not all, but many. Cancer, not all, but many also, unfortunately. then instead of giving you food that is dead, which has no nutrient for your animal, give your own food. Cook chicken and give your own chicken to the cat. I mean, small portion. I know when it's difficult financially, is not easy to do, but honestly, cheap food for a short time. For a short time, because you will pay the price later on. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And I like, you know, Reiki over their food or pray over their food. You know, I remember I shopped at the dollar store for my food for a period of time where I couldn't afford it. So we do what we can, you know. So we do we do what we can for our pets, you know, and sometimes we can afford and to give them a better diet, and sometimes, you know, sometimes people are struggling right now to even feed themselves, and so we do what we can. But praying on the food, raking the food, it helps as well in those times where you can't afford it. But it's all about giving them unconditional love back. You know, that's a lot of what they want. They just want to be appreciated. They want love too. And so there's a lot of things that we can do to show them that we appreciate them. I think, Sabine, we're nearing the hour mark, and so I would love to invite you to come back. Perhaps if you could, we could do another segment on helping people connect with their animal. That's always the number one question I get, is how do I communicate with my animal? I've taught many animal communication classes. It's such a popular question. Understandably, people want to know how to connect with their pet like you do and like I do. So I'd love to do a whole segment on that. Maybe we can come back another day. Today, I really wanted to get to these important topics because I think it's important to understand their purpose, how they heal us, they take on illness, emotions, behavioral issues that they may have. All of this was really important to go over today. But I'd love to have you come back on if you're willing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
it would be a pleasure.
It
would be a real pleasure.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation. Can you tell everybody, and I'll also put this in the description below, if anybody wants to have a session with you or wants to get a hold of you, tell them how they can get a hold of you and if you're offering sessions right now.
Yeah, you can join me through my website. You will have to write because my accent will not be terrible. It's sabinetherapies.com, therapies with S. You can find me through my name, Sabine Poncelet, on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you type my name, you will find me. That's not an issue because that's not really a common name, Sabine Poncelet.
Well, and I'll put it in the link.
Sorry?
I said I'll put it in the description too, so they can just click on it.
Yeah, would be easier. Yeah. And they can book a session with me through my website. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I highly recommend, Sabine. You're lovely. I think you're genuine, and I think that if someone's looking for some assistance with their animal, you're just a great person for them to receive help from. So I'm super excited to have you on my channel today, and we'll do a part 2 so we can come back on and talk about how to connect with our animal, how to communicate with them yourself, which I'm telling most of you right now, you probably are already doing it. You just don't realize it. So, but we'll elaborate on that in our next interview. So thank you so much, Sabine, for joining me today. Thank you to everybody for watching this today. I hope this video has received you well. Any last words, Sabine?
I would say I'm glad that I could share many stories with you, and your stories were amazing too. And I'm really happy that we can share that with the public, because many people have to discover yet a lot of things about animal. They are amazing soul. They are a guardian angel for us. Really, they are really a guardian angel. You know, we say often, angels don't have always wings. They have fur. That's true. That's really true. Yeah. And I hope people will awaken very fast, like high speed, until the point that animal can really show who they are, because they are still waiting. They are really still waiting to pass more message and to make us understand how evolved spiritually they are. They can really help us. The mentality start to change. I've seen that, especially in a country where I'm living. You know, they still have a lot of people still thinking like my mom. Animal don't speak. Oh yes, you are a psychologist for animal. You just acknowledge the behavior, but they cannot communicate mind to mind with you or heart to heart. You can't feel, they can't feel you. Animal don't have emotion. I still hear that here. Less than before, because I do that since approximately 10 years now here in UAE. Much more people are open to that. And people are speaking also. They share their story. And of course, when animals are healing, it's amazing. But we still have, in my personal opinion, too much people who are still stuck in their closed box. I mean, closed-minded people who just need to open the little windows in their box to say, okay, let me listen to that story and just start to open. Yeah. I would love that this is speeding like much faster. You get the point? At the point that everyone would be able to communicate with animal like it was into ancient time. Ancient Egypt, they were using the Sphinx at the entry to tell them who's coming. Simple as if.
Simple. I mean, I think we're getting there. We're moving in that direction, but right now we're having a mass healing for the collective. And it's all about us healing on a soul level, which is the purpose of today's conversation. It's about animals, but in reality, it's really about them and what they're here to help us, and it's in how we can heal. So anybody watching this, I encourage you to, if your animals are showing you something, think about how it's reflecting within you, and where you need to either begin your healing or continue your healing, because they're showing you something that's important. So I hope this video helps the people watching this, because it's really important message. So thank you, Sabine. Thank you to everybody. Until next time. Until next time, in our next conversation, we have so much more to talk about.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.